Hello folks, Y Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this beautiful summer day. It's pretty smoky out here, so if you hear a helicopter coming by from time to time, you know why. They're dropping water. And also my voice is a little rasped because of the smoke that's in the air. That's one disadvantage of living in the forest, you know, out in the woods. You got to watch out for those things. The name of this video is called The Y Guy Heart Beats, but not by choice, not by will. You know, a person can breathe, can't help but to breathe. Well, days like today, it's a little harder than usual, but a person can't help it because it's an automatic function. Hope you're getting that, right? And what about a heartbeat? Does your free will have any part to play in that? You know, it's not applicable, is it? Now, along with many other examples that I could easily give on this, I suppose I could, and we'd all agree on that. That free will isn't required for a heartbeat. Let's at least agree on that. Nor is it required for your breathing. Okay, it's more automatic. Most of the time, a person can't help. Here's another example. A person just can't help to be offended when they're attacked. You know, in some way. They just can't help it. There are people that'll just you push the right button, just boom, just like that, and they will swear that they had no control, that their free will had nothing to do with it. They couldn't control it. And there's other people like Gandhi and that Chinese guy I really adore, Dalai Lama. People like that, man, they've mastered that self-control stuff. And they'll claim it's their free will, I'm assuming. But, you know, there are people that can't do that, you know, and I'm one of them. You know, I can fly off the handle pretty good, and you know, free will doesn't seem to work so well in those cases. So free will seems to me to have its limits, and not just to me, probably countless people. So at the very least, free will is inconsistent. All right. Now there's that point of view that no person can help it, of what race they are or family that they're born into, environment, status, eye color, you know, hair color, all that kind of stuff. You know, you can't help any of that, the birth area, and so free will basically is irrelevant, you know, and it has no effect or any bearing whatsoever. Yet the very creator of that free will, now let me back up just a little bit, because free will is a doctrine. It is even though it's understood by people in the world, it is a Christian doctrine. And it is a doctrine of men because there's nothing scriptural that says it. So I'm not trying to put anyone down who believes in it. I'm just simply using it right now as a tool, as a way to communicate. So just because I'm using the term doesn't mean I endorse the belief or the doctrine, all right? So I just wanted to clear that up by me saying that the creator of that free will, all right, the creator, has obviously created limits to it as well. I just shared a couple, right? So what Christianity basically is claiming that the very creator of that free will has no more jurisdiction. He doesn't have jurisdiction over it or any kind of control over his own creation. You know, if you think about that, it doesn't make any sense. Really? Because look who we're talking about here, guys. Let's see, center this a little bit better. There we go. I've discovered something interesting in doing some of this research that, you know, ego and free will really fit like a hand in a glove. It just does. They fit together beautifully like that. You know, because it seems like the ego is the actual redundant power supply that fuels the free will. You know, why else? That if a person's being attacked in some way, usually it's a verbal situation, the first thing that's going to rise up is their ego gets offended. Get these yellow jackets away from me. They offend me enough. But anyway, their ego gets offended. And so the ego is going to then feed that free will in that direction. Okay, so that's what I meant by that being the power supply. Now, without ego, one really wouldn't care, would one, that a loving God, was in charge? Well, you really wouldn't. Because see, people want to, I'm You know, I'm the one in charge of my destiny, and I pulled myself up spiritually by my own spiritual bootstraps. You know what I'm saying? But if it wasn't for the ego, one wouldn't have to do that or feel like they needed to do that. And but God really is in control, not in control of your will, because He did give you wills, He did create your wills, all right? But He's in control of the final outcome of your wills, meaning, i.e., the ramifications caused by the actions of your free will. He's in control of those ramifications, meaning it's up to Him to judge, all right? To righteously judge, lovingly judge. Okay, I hope you're catching this. You know, Christianity does claim that God is great, God is good, God is love, God is the creator of all, God is all-powerful, God is in charge of their lives, they say. And have thy own way, Lord, and not my will, but thine. Thy will be done, O God. You know, they quote Jesus in that all the time. In prayers, I've heard it 100 times. Yet get this, folks, God, according to basic Christian beliefs in the doctrine of free will, God is not great enough, nor powerful enough, He's in charge enough, or His will is not efficient enough to save you without your will. Are you catching this? Without your will that He created, that He obviously set limits to, which I pointed out, and that He's in control of the outcome. And yet it's claimed that you can't have salvation without your free will being involved? I'm going to prove otherwise at the end of this video. You know, we've all heard of the acronym WTF, a very vulgar acronym, yet I changed it to why the fake, when the truth is plain to see, right in front of your eyeballs. And the truth is, for it is God who is at work in you, both to will and to behave according to His good purposes. Now, use your free will and decide, is this verse true or not? Something else about this verse, it's self-contextualizing. Even though it was written to the Philippians, is it not also true for the people in Corinth as well? So for it is God who works both in you to will and behave. He only worked in people in Philippi and not Corinth. You see my point? It's self-contextualizing, meaning it's true no matter who said it, when it was said, who it was said to, and that we're reading it now, it's still truth. And it's still applicable, it still applies. Okay? So you can't argue with that. It is God who is at work in you to will. Now, He influences your free will. Again, I'm using that term loosely. He influences it because it's Him at work in you. Okay? In spite of your free will. By design, think about it this way. By design, just your heartbeat alone should be evidence enough for you, Christian. Okay? Should be evidence enough that the very creation of your free will, if you want to call it that, it has its limits. And God created those limits in it. Again, we talked about examples. And its limits do not and cannot go beyond the non-limited will of God. Unless, of course, you believe in a little bitty God that's very limited. Then maybe free will is more powerful than that God. You know? Yes, I'm being sarcastic on purpose. You got to think about this, all right? Now, in Hebrews 8:11, it says, all will know God. You have to decide by your free will, I suppose, is this verse true or not? You can have all sorts of things to think about of, well, gosh, maybe, was it in context? What's it talking about? Was it the real translation? We got to look into this. Please look into it. Because the word all is what I want you to look at in the Greek dictionary. Hebrews 8:11, again, I said, all will know God. Luke 3:6, all flesh shall see God's salvation. Use your free will. Is it true or not? Use your free will to look it up. 1 Timothy 2:4, God will have all to be saved. Is this verse true or not? Psalm 65:2, all flesh will come to God. Will they or will they not? Is it true or is it not? And the last one, even though I have probably 50 to 100, I never did count them, verses that say pretty much the same thing, but last one, no, not the last one. I'm going to give you a couple more. 1 Timothy 2:6. Salvation of all is testified in due time. True or not? Now, last one. Ephesians 1:10. All come unto him at the fullness of times. All right. Now, in closing, folks, once again, oh, this smoke is getting to me. Once again, in every case, every all that I have mentioned to you is a passive all in the Greek. It means that no action, because it's passive, no action is required from an individual to be included as part of that all. Did that make sense? All right. Why? Because it's automatic to be part of that all, just like your heartbeat and your breathing. It doesn't take your free will to be included in the all, because if these alls was an active all in the Greek, then it would require an action on your part, and it would require your free will. So I'm asking my viewers who don't agree with this, prove me wrong and go to any Greek dictionary. You will see a little word next to all these alls, all these alls. All these alls. That, by the way, that first all I just told you when I said all these, that's a neutral all in the Greek. It'll have the little word neut next to it. But the alls that I've mentioned, they'll have a PASS next to them for passive. And then you can look up the definition of passive and see that everything I'm telling you is the truth. And if it's an active all, I think it spells out the word active. So look them up and try to prove me wrong. And I'm encouraging you to do that because I know I'm not wrong. So your argument is not with me, it's with the Greek dictionaries. So, and also it endorses, everything I'm saying endorses the very character of God. Not just his character, but his awesomeness and his power. It endorses that. His sovereignty, it endorses that. Okay? That he's sovereign over the results, the end results. He's not sovereign over every little thought you have and over every little action you make. Of course not. Why? Because he gave you a will. Because he has to work in something. Well, it says he works within your will, so obviously he gave you one. Okay, I hope that made sense. Are you getting this, folks? Are you getting this? If you disagree, please be polite in leaving a disagreeable comment, and a thumbs down to confirm that is okay. I respect that, but be polite. Thumbs up would be appreciated, and a reason why you left a thumbs up would be appreciated. Consider subscribing to this channel. It's fun. And look me up on Facebook under a group called the Why Guy Group. It's a private group. And I also have a avatar name of John Anthony Jones, which is a public group or public timeline that you're welcome to join in. And I do want to thank you for viewing. Obviously, my voice is, I'm losing my voice because of the smoke out here. But thanks for viewing.